I am applying for the night custodial position. I have 22 years as a maintenance supervisor. I can fix anything on water or...
This is a basic cleaning position. Supervisors do not usually apply down here. I am not too good for a mop. I have my family at home. And I need honest work. I do not mind what kind it is. Thank you for your time.
You can learn a company's soul from the papers it throws away. Rowan Bell. Mr. Bell?
The morning he walked into that glass tower, Rowan had $4 in his pocket and a boy at home who still believed his father could fix anything. He wore his only clean shirt, the collar frayed soft from 100 washings, and he carried a single folded paper, an application for a janitor's position, the lowest rung the building offered. He was not too proud for it. Pride did not feed a 9-year-old. What he did not know, as he wrote his name in careful block letters at the top of that form, was that the woman who ran the whole company would read those 7 letters and go completely still, that a name could stop a billionaire cold, that a debt he'd never known existed had been waiting 30 years to find him. His name was Rowan Bell, and 11 months ago he had been a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing plant 2 towns over. 22 years he'd given them. He knew every pipe, every breaker, every groan the old building made when the winter wind came off the river. Then the plant closed, just like that. A notice on a Tuesday, locked doors by Friday, and a severance that lasted exactly as long as it took the medical bills to find it. Because there had been bills. There had been Anna. His wife had died 14 months back, in the slow and expensive way that leaves a man not only grieving, but buried. She'd been the one who laughed easily, who filled a small house with the smell of cinnamon and burnt toast, and never once complained that they didn't have more. When she was gone, Rowan learned what it meant to hold a family together with 2 hands and no rest. He learned to pack a lunch, to sign the school papers, to lie awake doing arithmetic in the dark. Bram was the reason for everything now. 9 years old, all elbows and questions, with his mother's stubborn cowlick and a gap where his front tooth used to be. He believed, with the fierce certainty of a child, that his dad was the strongest man alive. Rowan worked very hard to keep that belief intact. It cost him more than money. That morning, before the tower, Rowan had made oatmeal because it was cheap and it stretched. He'd counted the coins in the jar by the door, $3 and some change, $4 if he emptied his coat pocket, and he had put 2 of them back for the bus. He did not tell Bram they were low. He told Bram he had an interview at a very tall building downtown, and the boy's eyes went wide, as if his father were going off to slay something. "Will you get it, Dad?" "I'm going to try, buddy. Trying's the part we can control." That was a thing his own father used to say. Rowan's father had run a little repair shop on Delancey Street for 30 years, a cramped place that smelled of oil and coffee, where broken toasters and radios and bicycle chains came to be resurrected for whatever a person could pay, and often, Rowan remembered, for nothing at all. His father had been famous in the neighborhood for a particular kind of foolishness. He fixed things for people who couldn't cover it, and when they promised to come back with the money, he'd wave them off and say, "Pay me when you're able, and if you're never able, then pass it on." Rowan had watched, as a boy, money walk right out of that shop in the form of a mended thing and a shaken hand. He'd thought his father was a soft touch. He'd loved him for it and worried for him in equal measure. His father was gone now too, but that shop and that man's easy generosity lived in Rowan somewhere he couldn't quite reach on hard mornings. The tower downtown belonged to a company called Halden Works. Engineering, contracts, buildings that went up all across the region. 50 floors of steel and glass. A lobby with a floor so polished Rowan could see his tired face looking back up at him. He felt every scuff on his shoes. He straightened his frayed collar and reminded himself that honest work wore honest clothes, and walked to the desk where the applications were handled. The man behind that desk was named Victor. His nameplate said so. brass and important. He had the manner of a person who had decided, long ago, that his small measure of power over a doorway was the whole of his worth. He looked at Rowan's clothes before he looked at Rowan's face, and something in his expression closed like a till drawer. "Position?" Victor asked, not quite looking up. "The custodial posting. Night maintenance. Experience? 22 years. Maintenance supervisor, Corliss Manufacturing. I can fix about anything that runs on water, wire, or steam." Victor's mouth curled, faintly. "This is a mop and bucket job. Supervisors don't usually apply down here." He said supervisors like the word itself was a lie Rowan was telling. "I'm not too good for a mop," Rowan said quietly. "I've got a boy at home. I'll work harder than anyone you've got." Victor slid the form across the desk with 2 fingers, the way you'd move something you didn't want to touch. "Fill it out. We'll call if there's interest." His tone made it clear there would be none. Men like Rowan, overqualified, over 40, wearing yesterday all over them, made the whole neat system look bad. Better to file them away and forget. Rowan took the form to a hard plastic chair by the window and filled it in with care. He pressed the cheap pen firm so the letters would be clean. Name, at the top, in block capitals. The way his father had taught him to sign anything that mattered. Rowan Bell. He wrote his address, the little rented house on the east side. He wrote his years of service. Where the form asked for references, he had almost no one left. The plant was shuttered, the men scattered. He wrote his old foreman's name and hoped the number still worked. And at the bottom, where it asked why he wanted the position, most people wrote something proud or something false. Rowan wrote the truth, because he had run out of room for anything else. "I need honest work to care for my son. I don't mind what kind." He handed the form back to Victor, who took it without a word and set it on a tall stack where, Rowan understood, it would quietly die. He thanked the man anyway. His father had taught him that too. You thank people who don't earn it, because the thanks is about who you are, not who they are. He was almost to the revolving door when everything changed. There was an elevator at the far side of the lobby, private, its doors trimmed in brushed steel. It opened, and a woman stepped out. Tall, silver threading her dark hair, though she couldn't have been 50, dressed in the plain, expensive way of people who no longer need to prove anything. 2 assistants trailed her with tablets and worried faces. This was Maris Halden. She had built the company from a single contract and a borrowed truck. Everyone in that lobby stood a little straighter when she crossed it. Everyone but Rowan, who didn't know her from anyone and was only trying to get to the door before he lost his nerve entirely. She was moving fast, mid-sentence, when her eye caught the stack of applications on Victor's desk. It was habit. She read everything, always had. She said you could learn a company's soul from the papers it threw away. She lifted the top form off the pile without breaking stride. Then she stopped. She stopped so suddenly that the assistant behind her nearly walked into her back. She was looking at the name, Rowan Bell, in careful block capitals, and under it, the address on the east side, and the line about a son and honest work. The whole lobby seemed to hold its breath, though no one but Maris knew why. Victor half rose, already composing an excuse, already certain he was about to be scolded for something. But Maris wasn't looking at Victor. Rowan had his hand on the revolving door by then, his shoulders already half turned toward the street and the cold and the long bus ride home, 1 foot nearly into the rest of a smaller life. She turned, slowly, scanning the lobby, and her eyes found the tired man in the frayed collar just as he began to push the door forward. "Mr. Bell?" Her voice carried across all that marble, and it caught him in the turn, one hand on the glass. It was not the voice of a CEO summoning an applicant. It was softer than that, uncertain almost. Rowan Bell? Rowan turned back. He didn't know who she was. He only knew that a woman who mattered had said his name like it meant something. And his first thought, the thought of a man who had been turned away too many times, was that he had done something wrong. "Yes, ma'am, that's me." She came toward him, still holding his application as if it were fragile. Up close, he could see her eyes were bright, wet at the edges, and he could not for the life of him understand why. "Is your father," she said, and her voice caught on the word, "was your father Samuel Bell? Did he have a repair shop? On Delancey Street. The floor seemed to shift under Rowan. No one had spoken his father's name in that way. Warm, reaching, hopeful, in a very long time. He did, Rowan said. He passed 6 years ago. How would you— I need to show you something, Maris said. Please, give me 10 minutes. Come up. Victor's mouth fell open. The assistants exchanged a look, and Rowan, bewildered, followed the most powerful person in the building into the private elevator. The doors slid shut on the marble and the murmur, and then it was just the hum of the cables and his own reflection in the brushed steel. A tired man, in a borrowed-looking shirt, rising through a building he'd come to mop. His heart was going hard. Some part of him kept waiting for the mistake to reveal itself, for her to look at him again and realize he was not who she'd hoped. He watched the numbers climb and gripped the rail, and had no idea he was riding up into the answer to a debt paid 30 years before he ever walked in. Her office was on the top floor, all sky and glass, the city laid out small and silent below. The room hummed faintly with the sound of climate machinery, and the glass gave off a cold that no heat quite reached, so that a man stood there, aware of exactly how high up he was. She did not sit behind the great desk. She went instead to a shelf, to a small wooden box that looked wildly out of place among the awards and the glass, and she opened it with the care of someone handling a relic. From it, she took a slip of paper, yellowed and soft with age. Its ink faded to brown. She held it out to Rowan with both hands. It was a repair shop receipt. He knew the form of it at once. His father's hand, the slanting, careful print, the little logo Rowan himself had drawn as a boy when Samuel let him design the shop. The date at the top was more than 30 years old. "Read the bottom," Maris said. "Read what he wrote." Rowan's eyes found the line, in his father's hand. "Balance owed. Paid in full by kindness. Pass it on." "I was 19, Maris said, and now she did sit, on the edge of a chair, as if her legs had stopped agreeing to hold her. "My mother was sick. My father was already gone. I had one thing in the world that made money for us. An old commercial sewing machine. Industrial. My mother took in work with it. Mending and alterations for the whole block. It broke down in the dead of winter. The motor seized. I took it to every repair place in the district, and they all wanted $40, $50. I did not have. I had $11. I had $11 and a mother who couldn't work if that machine stayed dead." She looked at the receipt in Rowan's hands. "Your father was the last shop on my list. He took that machine apart on his bench and worked on it for 2 days. When I came back, terrified, ready to beg, he'd rebuilt the whole motor. New brushes, new bearings, the belt. It should have been $60 more." Rowan lowered himself into the chair across from her, the old paper still held careful in both his hands, and something in the sight of him settling made her voice go quiet for a moment before she went on. "I put my 11 on the counter, and I started to cry," she said, "because I knew it wasn't enough, and I didn't know what I was going to do." Her voice thinned. "He pushed the $11 back across the counter to me. Every cent," he said. "You keep that. Your mother needs it more than my till does." And he wrote that receipt, and he handed it to me, and he said— She stopped, pressed her lips together. He said, "Pay me when you're able, and if you're never able, then pass it on. Kindness travels farther than we think, young lady, farther than you'll ever get to see." Rowan could not speak. He was 9 years old again, in the doorway of a shop that smelled of oil and coffee, watching his father give the world away one broken thing at a time. He set the receipt down on the desk between them, gently, because his hands had begun to shake and he did not trust them with it. "That machine ran for 11 more years, Maris said. It kept us fed. It kept a roof over us long enough for me to finish school, to get my first job, to save, to start this." She lifted a hand at the office, the tower, the whole improbable thing she'd built. "Everything I have, every person this company employs, every family that eats because of a Halden paycheck, all of it started running the day your father fixed a motor for a girl who couldn't pay him. I have tried for 30 years to find him, to pay him back. I went to Delancey Street, and the shop was gone, and no one could tell me where the family went. I had almost made my peace with never being able to say thank you. She looked up at Rowan, at his frayed collar and his tired, honest face. And then this morning, I picked up a stack of applications on my way to a meeting, the way I always do, and I read a name. For a long moment, neither of them said anything. Outside the glass, the city went about its business, unaware that in a quiet room high above it, a 30-year-old kindness had just come home. He never told me, Rowan finally managed. He did that for so many people. He never kept track. He'd have forgotten your machine by that same winter. I know, Maris said, and she almost laughed through the tears. That's what makes it what it is. He didn't do it to be remembered. He did it because it was who he was. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. A plain human gesture. And when she spoke again, some of the steadiness of a CEO had returned to her voice, decided and clear. Mr. Bell, Rowan, I'm not going to insult you by trying to hand you your father's kindness back as charity. You'd be right to refuse it, and I think he'd be disappointed in me if I tried. So I want to talk to you about work. Real work. Your work. She picked up his application again, and read it properly this time. All of it. The 22 years. The maintenance supervisor. The plant that closed. You ran maintenance for a manufacturing operation. Systems, crews, safety, the whole floor. 22 years, Rowan said. I know buildings the way some men know their own hands. I have 41 buildings, Maris said. Sites all over the region, and a facilities operation that has been held together with duct tape and prayer since my last director retired. I have been interviewing for that role for 3 months, and every candidate has been a man in a good suit who has never once held a wrench. I need someone who has actually done the work, who the crews will respect because he's been where they stand. She set the paper down. I'm not offering you a mop, Rowan. I'm offering you a supervisor's role, running facilities, because you are qualified for it, and I'd have been a fool to let that application die on a desk downstairs. The name is why I read the paper, but the years on the paper are why I'm offering the job. You'd have earned this if I'd never known your father's name at all. Rowan sat very still. He had come into that building hoping for a bucket and a night shift, prepared to be grateful for the smallest thing. And here was the world tilting the other way, and every instinct in him, the instinct of a proud man who had been told no 100 times, wanted to distrust it. I don't want anything I didn't earn, he said. I've got a boy watching how I do this. I won't take a thing out of pity, ma'am. Not even yours. Good, Maris said simply. Because I'm not offering it out of pity. Pity would be a check and a handshake and goodbye. This is harder than that. This is me asking you to fix my company's bones, the way your father fixed my mother's machine. You'll work for it. You'll earn every dollar. And the first time you cut a corner, I'll be in your office asking why. She almost smiled. That's not charity, Mr. Bell. That's a debt, being paid the only way your father would have accepted it, passed on. And Rowan, who had held himself together with 2 hands and no rest for 14 months, felt something in his chest come loose. Not break. Loose. Like a seized motor finally turning over. There's a man downstairs named Victor, he said, surprising himself. He wasn't going to pass my paper up. I want you to know it wasn't your system that found me. It was you, picking up a stack you didn't have to touch. Maris's expression cooled a degree, and Rowan understood that Victor's habit of judging tired men by their collars had just become a very short-lived habit. But all she said was, I read everything. You can learn a company's soul from the papers it throws away. She stood and offered her hand across the desk, and this time, it was the handshake of 2 people who understood exactly what they were agreeing to. Welcome to Halden Works. Go home and tell your son his father got the job. All of it. On merit. He went home that evening on the bus he'd saved the 2 coins for, and he sat with the strangeness of it the whole way, the yellowed receipt tucked in his breast pocket where his heart could feel the shape of it. Maris had insisted he keep it. It was always meant to find its way back to a bell, she'd said. Bram was at the front window when he came up the walk, the way the boy always waited, and he had the door open before Rowan reached it. Did you get it? Did you get the job? Rowan knelt down on the worn step, so he was eye to eye with his son, the street light just coming on above them. "I got a job," he said. "A good one, buddy. A better one than I went in for." Better how? Better because. And here Rowan had to stop and steady his own voice. Because how do you explain to a 9-year-old that his dead grandfather had reached across 30 years and caught his father as he fell? Because a long time ago, your grandpa Sam did something kind for a girl he never expected to see again, and he forgot all about it, because that's the kind of man he was. And today that kindness came all the way back around and found us. It found you and me on the day we needed it most. Bram considered this with the seriousness children bring to important things. So being nice is like, it comes back? Sometimes, Rowan said. Not always. You can't do it for the coming back. That's the trick of it. Your grandpa never did. He took the old receipt out of his pocket and let his son hold it. The faded ink, the careful hand, paid in full by kindness. Pass it on. But sometimes it travels a lot farther than you'd ever think. Farther than you get to see, and then one day, it walks right up to your kid and puts food on the table. They sat on the step a while, the two of them, as the windows of the neighborhood lit up one by one. Behind them, in the small house, the kitchen still held the faint smell of cinnamon some mornings. Anna's smell, though the boxes on the shelf were long empty. Rowan had never been able to say where it came from. He'd stopped asking. He only knew the house remembered her the way he did, in small, stubborn ways, and that tonight, for the first time in a long time, it felt less like a wound and more like company. Rowan ran facilities for Halden Works for many years after that, and he was good at it, the way his father had been good at his bench, because he cared about the thing more than the credit. The crews trusted him because he'd carried the same tools. Maris trusted him because he never once cut the corner she'd warned him about. And in his office, framed on the wall where he'd see it every morning, was a 30-year-old repair shop receipt in a dead man's careful hand. He never let Bram forget where it came from, and when the boy was grown, and someone he'd never see again couldn't cover what they owed, Bram would wave them off. Rowan heard him do it once, and had to turn away so his son wouldn't see his face, and say the words his grandfather said, the words that built a tower, and saved a family, and came home at last. Pay me when you're able, and if you're never able, pass it on. Because kindness travels farther than we think, farther than we'll ever get to see.